Hey, it's Vicky, and guess what time it is? Yes, we are ready for episode 6 of the 100 Epic Reads vlog series I've been doing on my channel. So this will be the first one for 2023, which is really exciting. I'm really excited to see what books I'm gonna pull this year. Cause yeah, for those of you who haven't been around or you may not know, I'm doing this vlog series on my channel where I have this poster called the 100 Epic Reads poster, where you basically, there are 100 books on it, and they're all books that somebody decided are epic and you should read them. And I've slowly been working my way through them. When I got the poster, I had already read probably about 40 of them or so, and I keep forgetting to tell you what number I'm at now. So I will count them and I'll put the number down here so you can tell, because I don't even know. But yeah, basically I'm trying to work my way through this poster, and doing this vlog series is kind of helping me do that. A lot of the books are classics or books I've never even heard of. So I'm excited because who knows, I might end up reading like an amazing 5-star book that I didn't even know existed until I got this poster. So basically the way I do it is I have this little cup, this little silicone wine cup, and I wrote all the unread titles on it, on these little post-its, and put them in this cup. And what I do is I pick 2 out of the cup, and then from those 2 I kind of decide which one I'm gonna read, and then I vlog about it. So let's dive right in. So we're gonna go with, gotta shake it up really good. All right, here we go. That was like overdoing it. Okay. We got yellow and orange. I gotta put this down. Okay. So first up, first pick. I always get a little nervous. I don't know why. But here we go. First pick is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I've heard of this book. I know nothing about this book. So let's whip out the trusty phone, pull up the synopsis, see what we got going on here. Okay, so it looks like this book is translated from Spanish. Let's see. This particular edition that I'm pulling up on Goodreads is 417 pages, so not crazy long. Definitely one that doesn't seem that intimidating lengthwise. And it has a 4.1 rating on Goodreads with 882,000 ratings. So yeah, it's pretty popular. So let's see. Oh, the description is incredibly short on this. Let's just see what it says. The brilliant, best-selling landmark novel that tells the story of the Buendia family and chronicles the irreconcilable conflict between the desire for solitude and the need for love in rich, imaginative prose that has come to define an entire genre known as magical realism. That is intriguing to me because I enjoy magical realism. Because to me, it's kind of like dipping my toes into fantasy, even though I know it's nothing like fantasy, but because of those elements, I feel like I'm kind of reading a realistic novel with a little touch of fantasy, and I kind of like that. So that is intriguing to me. And also, it sounds like a family saga drama, what have you, which I do tend to enjoy. Okay, I like this. I like this one. I like this one, but we have to see what the other one is, just so we can make a choice here. So we have the yellow one. Here we go. And this one is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. Now this is one that technically I own because Leia owns it. Not me, but I'm sure she'll let me borrow it from her. And this is one that, you know, I grew up reading Roald Dahl. The Witches was my favorite of his. And yeah, his books are the perfect blend of like childhood, fun, whatever, but there's also like a darkness to them that I do like. I haven't read a Roald Dahl book I haven't enjoyed. In this one, obviously, I've seen the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory like a million times, and so I'm pretty sure I know the gist of the story. But just for, you know, the sake of doing it, let's pull up the synopsis. see like what people on Goodreads think about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This one is short, 176 pages, this edition anyway. It has a 4.15 rating on Goodreads with 782,000 ratings. And basically, not a whole lot. Again, a very short synopsis, which is nice. Charlie Bucket's wonderful adventure begins when he finds one of Mr. Willy Wonka's precious golden tickets and wins a whole day inside the mysterious chocolate factory. Little does he know the surprises that are in store for him. So yeah, pretty much, I know the gist. So this is kind of an easy choice for me because right now, just the sort of mood that I'm in, I'm not really in the mood for middle grade. So I think I'm gonna go with 100 Years of Solitude. I think that, also, I think it's a better choice because I think the last couple of books or at least last year, of the 4 that I did last year, there were a couple times that I picked ones that were more well-known, or oh, I've heard of this one, and I kind of want to read one that was not on my radar, which this book, 100 Years of Solitude, definitely is. I feel like this one is a bit different than the others because it's a translated work, and yeah, that alone, and then also the magical realism element just has me really wanting to check it out. So I think I'm gonna take a peek and see if I could possibly get the audiobook from Scribd or my library or even Audible, or I don't know if I want to physically read it. I haven't really decided. Maybe I'll try physically reading it, and then if I need the audiobook, I can do that. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so here we go. 100 Years of Solitude. We are kicking off 2023. 100 Epic Reads, episode 6. I'm so excited. So I've officially started 100 Years of Solitude. I am on page 61, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very confused. I've been listening to this on audio, and it's fine. Like, there's nothing, you know, wrong with the narration or anything, but I was just very confused as to what was going on. So I did have to, you know, do some Googling, got on the Spark Notes, and they sort of set me straight because I was pretty lost, I'm not gonna lie. So it deals with this family that live in this town called Macondo, I believe is how you say it, and it kind of is just like about their lives, but it's not told in a linear fashion. So it was jumping around in time, and that was part of the confusion for me. But also, this deals a lot with, because it is classified as like magical realism, so some of the stuff that happens in the book, you're like, is this really happening or not? And it seems like this book, from what I have read, is going to play around with the idea of memory, like human memory and human experience being the reality. So, but is that really the reality? It's like playing with that, or like the idea that someone's memory changes the history of what like happened, let's just say. So it's a little bit confusing. It's a little bit out there, but I'm gonna stick with it because I feel like I'm getting a handle on it now. And especially, I did read from somebody somewhere said to approach it like you're reading like short stories, almost like little snippets. They're kind of about the same people within the same family and stuff, but it jumps around in time, it jumps around in place. A lot of the characters have the same names, which is also tricky, but if you approach it that way, it might be easier to process. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do, and hopefully it goes okay. So all I have to report really at this moment is that this one's probably gonna be tough. It's gonna be a struggle, but I'm here for it. I've reached about the halfway point in 100 Years of Solitude, and I have to say it is still tough. It is just one of those books that you really have to like dig deep and stuff. But I will tell you some things that I like about this. The biggest thing I like about this is the magical realism. I just like magical realism in general, but in this book in particular, I just love the way that Marquez he describes like these, you know, impossible, fantastical things in such a normal way that they feel possible. Like, for example, there's a part in this book where a character dies, and when he dies, these yellow, like little yellow flowers come down from the sky, which we know like is not possible, but just the way he describes it, it makes it, I don't know, it just makes it feel like it could be. And so yeah, the magical realism in here is great because just the way that he writes it, it just makes it seem normal, even though it's not. My biggest complaint about this book is all the characters have either the same name or very, very similar names, and they share personality traits. And that's because that's like kind of a theme of the book, is that this lineage, you know, because you're going through these generations of this one family, the Buendias, and you will see that these characters are, say, given a name because they're named after, say, their father or their grandfather. And then not only are they given that person's name, but they also share a lot of the personality traits of that person and make a lot of the same mistakes that that person made, or has the same sort of flaws that that person had. And so it makes it very difficult when you're trying to sort through all the characters when they all have the same name and act the same. So we've reached the point in the book where they live in this sort of like utopian sort of town called Macondo, and it kind of started out as, yes, this very peaceful utopian sort of place. Everybody sort of is guided by their own moral compass. There is no like government or organized religion or anything to kind of tell people what to do. People are just like doing the things, and everything's sort of harmonious. But gradually things have started to come into the town that you feel like are tainting it in some way. Things like organized religion. Now, I don't know how Marquez felt about organized religion, but I kind of get the vibe that that's something that maybe he wasn't a fan of, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't like quote me on that. But and now at this point in the book, this train has shown up. So you're slowly starting to kind of see industrialization showing up too. And I don't know if that's going to be a thing too, that like that industrialization, which will probably most likely turn into you know, consumerism, capitalism, will ruin the town, is kind of the vibe I'm getting. Like, you get the vibe that this train is not a good thing for Macondo. So there's just a lot of interesting themes going on in this that, while I'm reading it, I kind of just have to just kind of let go and just let everything just happen and just listen to it. Because if you're trying to focus too much on one thing, it gets kind of all muddled. But when I kind of step back after listening to a chapter or two, some of the themes do sort of kind of stick out. But this is a difficult read, I will definitely say. But I'm not hating it, because I think of like a lot of the stuff that he's kind of talking about in the book are interesting, and the way he writes it is interesting. So yeah, I'm really curious where things are gonna go now. You always have to make an appearance, don't you? It's because I'm in her chair and she's like, get out of my chair. I'm really interested to see where this is gonna go now and how things are gonna kind of pan out in like the second half of the book, because I'm getting the vibe that things are not gonna go so well. So I finished 100 Years of Solitude, and my brain is fried, quite frankly. This is one of the most difficult books I have read in a long time. I really had to rely on Spark Notes and other reviews and like analyses of this book to fully grasp what was going on, because it just was not connecting in my brain. But once those things were spelled out for me, I enjoyed this book a lot more for what it was. While I was listening to it, I could kind of get into what was happening currently, but when I tried to get more into the broader scope of things and what this book was about and what it was trying to say, I struggled. With that being said, I can totally see how this book is considered like a pioneer in terms of magical realism. That was definitely my favorite part of this book. Those moments in the way that they were written were amazing. I loved it. And like, I can see why like many books since this one have done the same or have like referenced in some way that this book was an inspiration for that, because it was just perfectly done, honestly. I think that in the future I could definitely read more of Marquez, but he's not an easy, it's not an easy read. It's challenging. It really is. And I don't want to complain about that. But I do think that there were just a lot of things about this book that went over my head, and that's not the book's fault. That's my fault. And I think if I were to ever revisit this book, I would want to maybe read up a little bit more on the history of Colombia in particular, because from what I understand, there are quite a few things in this book that Marquez pulled directly from his own experience in his life, and then from what I understand, you also have a better understanding of this book if you have a better understanding of the history of Colombia, which I don't. So I think, yes, to revisit this, I would have to kind of do more work. But as far as the author is concerned, I would read more from him, because the writing was not challenging. It's hard to explain. The book was challenging, but the writing was not. I don't know how that makes sense, but that's how it is. His writing is very, it's very straightforward. It's very, like, he'll describe things, let's say horrifying things, let's say something very violent, and he just kind of tells it in a very matter-of-fact sort of way. And I liked the style of the writing. I think for me it was the characters. There were very many of them, and like I've said, a lot of them were very similar, and it was hard to keep track of everyone, despite, I believe this edition has it. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, it does. There is a family tree, and let me tell you, if you ever read this book, you're gonna need that family tree. It's very important. So yeah, overall, I think I gave this book 3 stars because I really appreciated the magical realism, some of the themes that are explored in here about time, about generational things, things repeating themselves, history repeating itself, history in general, in the ways in which history is remembered or in some cases erased. Like just things like that, things about colonization, things about industrialism, family things. There's a lot packed into this book, and I did appreciate those things once I went out and sort of did further reading on it. And I think overall the experience was fine. When I was listening to the book, I could pay attention to what was going on. There were definitely parts that were funny. There were parts that were heartbreaking, horrific. It had a lot. But I think this is a good example of a book that was just too smart for me. It was just too smart for me. And I didn't fully grasp it all. So, and that's not the book's fault, but it does affect my overall enjoyment and my rating. So I gave this 3 stars. I would recommend it, but no, this is not going to just be a type of book you can just crack open and read and you can just understand everything that's going on and it's very cozy and this and that. It's not like that at all. You're gonna have to do the work, but if you're up for the challenge, definitely do it because it is worth it. It is worth it, especially if you are a fan of magical realism. So yes, we have completed the first episode of the 100 Epic Reads vlog series for 2023. So yeah, I'm excited to see what else the year is gonna bring in terms of this series. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna come next. But let me know down below if you have read 100 Years of Solitude or any of Marquez's other work. I know there's another book of his actually on the poster. I think it's Love in the Time of Cholera, I believe. So yeah, who knows? Oh my gosh, if I picked that next, I don't know what I would do. That'd be tough. And then I also heard too that Netflix, I saw a trailer for an adaptation of this for Netflix and it's in Spanish. I'm very intrigued and I will probably check it out when it comes out if it's not out already. But yeah, this is it, guys. I don't really know what else to say except thank you for coming along with me on this journey. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.